What is going on, everybody? So in this episode of the Modern Shed Build series, we're going to be installing the roll-up door on the front of the shed. And although roll-up doors are a little pricey, I think the look is well worth it. Let's get into the video. Now, if you missed any previous videos like how to frame the shed, you can check out my channel. But first, let's talk about ordering the door. You're going to need to determine your rough opening, which is the width and the height, and you might also come across terms like left hand and right hand jamb, as well as the header, which goes above your door. You're going to need to order a roll-up door based on your rough opening dimensions. In my case, I have a 6-foot wide door by a 7-foot tall door. So using the rough in dimensions, you can go to a website like Steel Door Depot, you can plug in your rough opening dimensions and then select your colors, things like that. Be sure to pay attention to the manufacturer's instructions on ordering the right door for your application. Here's the info on the door I ordered. I ordered Silhouette Gray and the shipping is like $300. So if you can pick up from a local supply warehouse, I would recommend you do it. Now, if your shed's roll-up door gets delivered, it should arrive in a crate like this, and obviously the first step is to open that up, and then get your roll-up door components positioned inside your shed. It's going to come with the main barrel door right there, which is the curtain, and also the legs, which you see on the floor in the shed. Now, the first step in the roll-up door installation is to attach the curtain barrel to the guides. Use the provided hardware, which will consist of a few bolts and nuts, to connect the curtain barrel to the guides. So we got it positioned right there preliminarily. After attaching the guide to the curtain barrel on one side of the roll-up door, move on to the other side and repeat the exact same process, using the provided hardware and adjusting the curtain barrel as needed to get the bolt through both the guide and the curtain barrel bracket. And once you get it positioned where it needs to be, thread the bolt through and then thread the nut on the other side. And hand tighten for now, and we'll go back later on and tighten it up with a socket wrench. So after hand tightening the hardware, go back with a socket wrench and tighten everything up to the point where it's tight, and then an additional quarter turn. And do this for all bolts that are used to connect the guides to the curtain barrel bracket as you're seeing there. This should be 4 bolts total. And here's a look at the guides attached to the barrel curtain. And I'm showing that up close right now on both sides, showing the connection before we lift it up into place. Now, before lifting the roll-up door into place, you want to have the guides positioned against the left-hand jamb and the right-hand jamb as shown. You want to have a person positioned holding each guide, and then you want to lift it in place along the pivot point as shown. Here I am with my brother, and we're each going to grab one of the guides, and we're going to slowly lift the entire roll-up door into place. As we lift it, you'll see that the guides are going to pivot along the pivot point, which is where the left hand and right hand jamb intersect with the guide. We made this look a lot more awkward than it needed to, but essentially you and your helper are going to walk the door up into place until the guides contact the left hand and right hand jamb. What I'm showing here is a section view of how it would look as you lift the guide into place and as it contacts the jamb. So after preliminarily lifting the roll-up door into place, we took some bar clamps and we secured the jambs temporarily to the front of the shed as you're seeing. We did this on both sides to hold it in place, and then we're going to go back and we're going to permanently install them to the inside of the rough opening with the lag bolts and screws provided with the roll-up door. Okay, so we put this in place and we used clamps to temporarily hold it. As you can see, we have it up on the top right there. Again, we have a clamp on both sides. At this point, you want to make sure that the opening width at the top of the door is the same as the opening width at the bottom. Use a tape measure to check the distance at the top first. This distance should be indicative of what you need, since the barrel brackets will keep the guides as far apart as they need to be. The equipment manufacturer will also give you a dimension from outside of the first guide to outside of the second guide, and usually this is about 3.5 inches greater than the rough opening width. So compare your guide spacing with the manufacturer provided dimensions. Do that at the top, and then after confirming that you look good at the top, confirm that you have the same distance at the bottom. The idea here is you want the width between the guides to be the same for the entire height of the roll-up door track. After confirming that the width between the guides is the same at the top and the bottom, you can go ahead and actually attach your guides to the wall studs of the shed. When you order your roll-up door, you can get mounting for studs that are made of wood, you can get metal mounting brackets, but here we're simply going to be installing the provided hardware that came with the door and attaching it to the rough opening frame of the door. There's a 2x4 stud that we're going to be anchoring the guides into. Use the provided hardware to attach the door guides to the studs behind through all of the perforations in the guides. There should be one at the bottom, one in the middle, one at the top, and you're going to attach these to the actual shed frame for all of the opening locations. A pretty redundant process, but make sure you take care of this and fasten the guides firmly to the door's rough opening frame. At this point, we're going to set the initial spring tension for the door, and to do this, we're going to give the door barrel 2 full revolutions towards the door opening. In other words, you're going to rotate the door as if you were sending the curtain down through the guides. After giving it 2 full revolutions, you're going to remove the plastic wrap around the door, and we can begin to move the curtain down into the guides. So after removing all of the protective foam from the curtain, grab the end of the curtain and pull it down into the guide track. Do this slowly, make sure that you're within the guides on both sides of the door's rough opening, and then simply thread the curtain down through the guides until you get to the bottom. Okay, so at this point we're going to put the handle on, and we're going to do this, obviously before we go all the way to the bottom, it's easier to do. So what we're doing now is we're using the provided hardware to fasten the door handle to the roll-up door, follow the manufacturer's instructions, and here we are going to the sides of the door, and we're installing a stop clip right there. So what this clip is going to do, it's going to prevent the door when we open it up from going too far up and curling up into the curtain, because it's going to actually contact a piece of metal stop that we're going to put in at the top. Here's a look at how that clip is going to contact the door stop. And here we are installing the door clip on the other side of the door, and there's a second stop on this side. So the door will catch on both sides of the door. After installing all the hardware, give your door a couple tests by opening and closing the curtain. You want to assess the tension to see if any adjustments are needed to get the tension right for your specific roll-up door. Obviously, follow the manufacturer's instructions for adjusting the tension, but in my case, I found that there was a bit too much tension in my roll-up door. So to adjust the tension, you're going to lift up that prowl right there, and to release tension, you're going to lift that wheel upward. And in our case, we were relieving tension, so we lifted upward. But if you wanted more tension in the door, you would rotate that wheel downward. Here I am giving it another test. And after testing it, I found that there was still a bit too much tension. So I'm going to go back and relieve a little bit more of the tension. All right, so to adjust our tension here, we got to adjust this little clip. So first, I'm going to loosen it ever so slightly, just so I can get this open. And then I'm going to slightly adjust that there to take some of the tension out. And after testing it, I was happy with the tension in the roll-up door, so I left it there. The door will also likely come with a pull string that you can install if you have a door that's up high and you can't reach. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like down below and consider subscribing if you like this type of content. In the next video, we're going to be installing the asphalt shingles on the shed roof, so definitely tune in for that one if you're interested. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.